we're not grabbing it fast enough. We're going to have to get another gear if we're going to add 80,000 people. Hello, brothers and sisters. Thank you for joining us for the very first episode of what we hope to be a long conversation, a regular conversation between us and every member of the IBEW. I'm Kenny Cooper, International President of the IBEW, and I'm joined by my partner leading this incredible organization, International Secretary-Treasurer Paul Noble.
Thank you, Kenny. You know, Articles 4 and 6 of the IBEW Constitution spell out the roles and responsibility of the International President and International Secretary-Treasurer. But that doesn't tell the whole story. Coop and I are journeyman wiremen. Journeyman wiremen who loved our local unions and got involved. And because of that, we were asked to take on more and more responsibility throughout our careers. And in introducing this podcast, first thing I want to do is thank you guys. Thank you for what you do out in the field every day. Our strength's always been with our membership. And thank you for entrusting Kenny and I in leading this great union. What we hope is with this podcast that we're able to bring home to you why we do what we do, so you can see the importance of the international office and the role we play in your lives.
And I think we should start by talking a little bit about what we're doing here every day. You know, frequently things that we get asked out on the job sites or when we're sitting in with business managers, we often talk to the business managers at progress meetings, at different international branch meetings, etc. But our general membership don't get to hear from us very often. So Paul and I think it's important that you know exactly what we're about. You know, as Paul said, we're both journeyman wiremen, inside journeyman wiremen. My card number is D570792, and I'm sure Paul knows his card number as well. And we talk about the most important thing we do every day, and that is get up every day trying to make it better for working families out there.
Coop, that's D802237. And I don't use it as a password, so no one can write that down.
Me neither.
But no, you're hitting the nail on the head. When you started out as you're a job site leader is what you are. And you don't have to be appointed a steward or anything else to have that role. But as a job site leader, you engage and you get to talk to the rank and file people that you're around every single day. Everybody knows everything that's going on. And even in the local union, when you progress, you still get to interact with the rank and file at union meetings regularly called, at special meetings, negotiations, contract time. But when you get into the international, we're dealing with the leaders, and we have some great leaders, but we lose that. So I really look forward to this opportunity to reach out to our membership where they can have a conversation with us where they're at.
Yeah, I was lucky. This past week, I traveled to Local 98 for a ribbon cutting of their union hall as well as a new training center and got to stay for a union meeting. I was only there for a short time, but I got to talk to the membership. And it's really good to reconnect with the membership. Then this weekend, I spent the weekend in Arizona at Local 640's 100th year anniversary. Again, there was about 1,000 people at their anniversary, and most of them were just rank and file members, journeyman wiremen like me and you, and other classifications there. So it was pretty exciting for me to have that opportunity to reconnect with the membership again and have those conversations that we need to talk about. I have one guy that caught me and talked to me about healthcare dollars following a man. And when I explained it to him why they don't, it was like the light came on. You know, I said, how do you send $12 to a local somewhere else that only negotiated $2? And it kind of understood it. Now I think the pension money, just like you and I've talked about many, many times, should follow the person wherever they go. So that's what reciprocity and IRTS does for our membership, that sometimes it's not explained to them that way.
Kenny, that's a perfect example of what I think we can do with this podcast. We can, through conversations between ourselves, interviewing other industry leaders like our Family of Fun leader at the NEBF, Darren Golden, our NECA partners, our utility partners, we have the ability to bring these conversations at home with the members so they can see why we do what we do, why we make the decisions we make. And I think we owe it to them.
Yeah, you bring up family funds, Paul. You know that we hadn't had a raise in the NEBF in 22 years. We were able to do something with that shortly after you and I became a team, and that was one of our top priorities, was making sure that we increased that benefit. Would you talk a little bit about the new benefit that we added and the importance of that for the future?
Kenny, I think this is a true game changer. I think it's how we're going to ensure a quality retirement for the working men and women of the IBEW for generations to come. It's based on the hours you worked is what it's based on. So if an employer is contributing $1 an hour for you and you work 3,000 hours, you have $3,000 to calculate the benefit from. If you only work 1,000, you have 1,000 hours to calculate it from. But it's quite an enhancement, and I think it will really be a game changer for our members.
Yeah, and one of the things we did when we anticipated that new NEIB was we looked at adding that right to the NEBF. And hopefully by setting that money in the same fund, we never ever go 22 years again without a raise, because as the actuaries look at the actuary assumptions of those plans, making sure that there's no unfunded liability, then we have an obligation to raise that threshold so that people get a better benefit. And I think that was an important piece of that what we did together.
Kenny, I think it's a good idea for a future podcast. I think it's a good idea to get our executive secretary, Darren Golden, in here. He does a great job. I know we put the presentation on at branch meetings, but everybody doesn't get to see that. I think it'd be a good opportunity to have him come here one day.
Well, I've even had rank and file come to me and say, when are we going to get a raise? And, you know, we went back from $32 to $33 the day they started in the NEBF, all the way back.
Absolutely.
And that was huge. And then we wanted to make sure that there was something there for everyone. When we did the NEIB, I think that's the future benefit for young people. I think that everybody's going to benefit from it. But if you're 25 years old starting in the trade, it's going to be
more
huge
time in the
for
system.
them.
That's right.
Absolutely. And then the 13th check. Yeah. For all the retirees that retired before 2025, will receive a 13th check between Thanksgiving and Christmas this year. So that's a big deal as well.
It's critical, yeah, that you take care of the ones that left it for you. I mean, we wouldn't have an NEBF had it not been for the sacrifices they made, and I think it's important we give back to everybody. I agree, Coop.
I think shifting a little bit, let's talk about our A membership. You know, our A membership is higher now than it's ever been in the history of the IBEW. Not only that, we have more apprentices than we ever did. But the work picture is huge out there right now. We're working about 3,600 projects right now worth about $800 billion. 6,000 new projects on the horizon in just the next 12 months. You know, the Bureau of Labor Statistics says that we're going to need 80,000 new electricians in the industry each year until 2032. And when you think about that and how we're moving the needle, and I started out with saying we have more A members than we ever had, but we're not grabbing it fast enough. We're going to have to get another gear if we're going to add 80,000 people to the ranks and files of electrical work. For us in the IBEW, we've been growing. Our goal has been 2%. I think we've been reaching that 2%, right. But it's not fast enough now to keep up with the industry out there. So we're going to have to do more and more to make sure we focus on bringing people in that's in the industry, bringing their skills up to our levels, helping them, make them a better member, a better journeyman, whatever they're doing, and allow them to participate in this wave that came at us of opportunity.
Kenny, there's really two things that stand out to me. Number one, you're spot on. We have to, if we're going to be, the union industry is going to be the group to capture this work, we have to have more people. And I know at times that's scary for our members out there. They worry about a lot of things. They worry about the skill and the quality of the people coming in. But the one thing that I know, of all the things we do, the one thing we are really professional at where we have no peers, and that's training electricians and linemen. We do that better than anybody else in the world. So I'm confident if we get the people in here, we can bring them up to our level, uh, just like we did you and I.
Yeah. Some of the things that's driving it is, of course, data centers in the United States is looking to grow. As they grow, we got to power those data centers. So therefore, in the utility industry, how are we going to power those? Because we have not seen an increase in electricity use for about 5 decades since the great industrial revolution.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing that increase because of the data centers, because of the chip plants, all the different things that we were able to bring back to America and keep that work here. It's going to be more and more important that we're involved in those things. We've seen 2 nuclear powerhouses that come back online. For the first time ever in our history, did we have one that was decommissioned that now has been recommissioned. So we're seeing a lot of exciting things that we've been involved with, and we're on the forefront of those, sitting down with investors, sitting down with developers, sitting down with the government, making sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. So I think, as we look forward to some of that work, we just have to have a plan to make sure we have the manpower, the people power, the membership to address those issues as they come at us.
Kenny, it's an energy revolution is what we're talking about. It's something like we haven't seen in decades. And the good news is it impacts every branch that we represent. And that gives us incredible opportunity for growth. Like I said, we've been talking about all across this nation and Canada the past 2 years. But it's there, it's real, and we better get ready.
So ever since Franklin D. Roosevelt, the President of the United States has always had a 100-day plan. Most CEOs have a 100-day plan. Paul and I executed a 100-day plan when we first came into office together, and we set goals of things we wanted to achieve. NEBF was a big one. Healthcare is a big one, with the Family Medical Care Plan. It has now reached $1 billion for the first time ever in its history. While increasing benefits 130 times.
Yeah.
So those kind of things are really, really important to us. But some of the things we talked about was making sure that the districts were involved in the organizing process, that the district was involved with following these jobs. When we had the infrastructure, the IRA, all the different bills that came out, one of the things Paul and I did was we sat down with every district and we hired one rep. That one rep reports to that vice president and our government affairs group. Our thought process was to make sure we followed every one of those dollars down to each local union to assure that local union has the best chance of getting those jobs. You want to talk a little bit about some of the things we did there? That was pretty awesome, I think.
It was a major investment. There's no question about it. But we know, and like you guys know out there, that you get the job. If you wait till you see a footing foundation going in, it's way too late. You get the job months, sometime years in advance. And it starts by following that money from day one when it's released up until it's given to a contractor or a community to build something. And we've had tremendous success with that, Kenny. And I think those types of things are the keys to us being out in front. It's not about sitting back and waiting for something to fall in your lap. It's about going after and grabbing it, and I think that helped jumpstart that process.
Paul and I just concluded a officers meeting, and we sat down with the vice presidents and we talked about accountability. We feel like we're accountable to each and every member of the IBEW. Again, we wake up every morning trying to see what we can do to make working life's family better. So some of the challenges we threw out to the vice presidents was, you know your district. Let's run that district the best we can. Let's organize. We threw out some strategic organizing plans, both utility, manufacturing, and construction. Our thought process is this. We want to pick our targets. We don't want our targets picking us. We have organizing staff here at the International. Every local union out there has organizing staff as well. And we think we can be more strategic at looking at some of those places. You want to talk a little bit about what we've done to try to target some of that, Paul? Or
Yeah, I mean, using technology, first of all, we have to. And so we've created a whole network where we can input targets. We looked around manufacturing, for example. There are literally 4 million unrepresented workers out there in factories every day who need a union. If we were just successful in 10%, that would be a 400,000 membership growth. And again, that's following our oath. That's what we all took. I, Paul Noble, in the presence of members of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, promise and agree to conform to and abide by the Constitution and laws of the IBEW. Will bear true allegiance to it, will not sacrifice its interest in any manner. Each and every one of us took that oath. And if you open that Constitution, organizing every worker is the first object in it. And that's what we intend to do. And being proactive is 1,000% the key.
well, and again, when we look at those targets, and you talk about the 400,000, that's 10% of what we're looking at
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
membership out there. I can remember when the IBW's biggest branch was manufacturing. Actually, when I started, I went to a couple manufacturing meetings, branch meetings, and I couldn't believe all the things that we made that was up on the
Yeah.
stage every time we went. We've seen that manufacturing group fall down to about 50,000 people over our time
Right.
in the IBW. We want to move that needle back to where it should be, and we should be representing those workers out there every day.
And it goes into the branches where we have strong representation. That's low-hanging fruit as far as I'm concerned. There's no reason we have a non-union electrical cooperative in the United States.
Or a utility.
Or utility, period, or investor-owned utility. We need to refocus and go after those. Those are jobs they're not going to move out of the area. They're good jobs. They deserve to be union jobs.
And as we talked about the electrification of America, we talked a little bit about those utilities and the generating plants out there. We know there's peakers out there that's been not represented for years and years. We think that we're going to see more and more of those peakers being used to address some of those issues
Right.
that we talked about as far as power needs for generating electricity. So we've also started compiling a list of all those peakers and seeing how we can get involved again with those relationships, help our negotiations, helps our organizing opportunities out there. So we're going to do more and more of that and leverage more of that as well.
And I think what's equally as critical in our construction branch, we're journeyman wiremen, but journeyman wiremen every day drive past hundreds, thousands of residential jobs while they're on their way to their work to do their commercial industrial work. That residential work is ours too, and we want to recapture it.
Talking about work that's ours, we recently did a tri-trade agreement with the laborers and the operators. Our thought process had many, many avenues to it. One was that the building trades would no longer do PLAs with everyone if we did a tri-trade agreement. The other thing was we outlined every job duty of every classification, so there was no confusion on those jobs. As the government money started in some of those solar projects, they were huge. We knew we was going to have some difficulties in manning some of that work, especially how we had assisted in writing the law to make sure that journeymen and apprentices was on those jobs. So when we sit down with the other two trades and we said to them, look, we'd like to have a tri-trade agreement on solar, it was the first chance we had to sit down and say, here's how we're going to move forward, and here's opportunities for developers, utilities, everyone, so that we have no job site problems, we have no dispute over whose job's whose. And I asked you originally to kind of spearhead that for me, and you sit down with some cohorts of yours in those other two industries.
Yeah, I'd worked with LIUNA and the operating engineers in Illinois for years, and built good relationships. Hey, let's look at the facts. Are 90, probably 5% of the time we agree on everything. You can't let 5% that you disagree on make you not be able to agree on anything. So we sat down, and I think we came up with a really good solution, and it's something we can give developers, utilities, construction users. We can give them a solution to their problem. It's the best chance of being able to man a work. There's absolutely no jurisdictional disputes. Everything's settled, and so far we've had nothing but success with it.
Well, brothers and sisters, these are just some of the things that we're trying to achieve every day to make it better for the IBEW. There's many, many more things to talk about in our 100-day plan that we first executed when we started. We're going to continue to move the needle for our membership and for their families. We're going to continue to fight for better wages, better benefits, better health care for each and every one of you. Paul and I believe deeply in our heart that's our mission, and we want to connect with you more frequently than we have in the past. We think this is an opportunity for us to sit down with you and have a conversation. As Paul said when we started, we're going to bring in some different folks throughout the time. I'm even in favor of bringing in some rank and file folks and sit down and have some conversation with them as well, so that you get to hear from them as well, so they see what we're doing and how we're trying to move that needle.
That's what it's about. I mean, I believe this with my whole heart. The IBEW is not Kenny and I. It's the 800, where are we at now, Kenny?
856,000.
But who's counting? 856,000 active and retired members of the IBEW. That's what this union is. It's us collective. That's where our strength is. And I think it's imperative that your leadership be able to communicate with the rank and file and let them know why we do what we do.
And I talk about the 856,000 as retirees and active members. The reason why that number is so important to me, I know for a fact that everything we have, everything we fight for, gets better when we have bigger numbers. We get better market share, we get better wages, we get better benefits, we get better health care, we get better political voice when we're dealing with the politicians.
Absolutely.
All those things benefit each and every member, each and every family of the IBEW. So Thank you for listening to us today. We hope we connect more often with each and every one of you, and thank you for what you do every day.
And I just want to echo Coop and say thank you, guys, and hopefully this allows some insights into why we do what we do.